What is the sound of a world losing its mind? It's not a scream or a siren. It's the sound of a number, ticking ever upward, the price of gold. When that number begins to spiral, when it breaks free from the charts and enters the realm of spectacle, it does something to people. It whispers ancient promises of safety, of power, of survival. It awakens a primal greed and a deep-seated fear. Men who have built fortunes on the complex foundations of modern finance suddenly find themselves staring into the elemental glow of a single metal. And in that glow, they see everything they could lose, or everything they could become. In these moments of frenzy, when the yellow metal seems to be the only truth in a world of lies, there is one rule, one single, non-negotiable principle that has separated those who preserved their wealth from those who were devoured by the mania. This is not a rule about timing the market. It is not a complex trading algorithm. It is something far more profound, forged not in the silicon of a server farm, but in the crucible of human history. For thousands of years, gold has been more than a metal. It has been a symbol, a compact of trust between strangers, a ghost in the machine of every empire. Imagine the vaults of ancient kings, lit by flickering torchlight, the gold coins within not merely representing wealth, but being wealth itself. Their power was absolute, tangible. You could hold it in your hand, feel its weight, its cold, dense reality. This was the first contract gold made with humanity. I am real, and I am permanent. While dynasties rose and fell, while paper decrees turned to dust, the gold in the vault remained. It was the bedrock. But then, the world evolved. We built paper currencies, complex debt instruments, a global financial system of breathtaking complexity, a cathedral of code and confidence. And we told ourselves that gold was a relic, a barbarous metal, its day done. We moved it to the periphery, a curious artifact in a digital age. But gold was never gone. It was only sleeping. And when the foundations of our modern cathedral begin to crack, when the air fills with the sound of doubt, that is when it awakens. The trigger is different every time. Sometimes it is a whisper of war, a geopolitical shock that sends diplomats scrambling and markets reeling. Other times it is a slow, creeping disease in the economy itself, a devaluation of currency, a loss of faith in the institutions that are meant to hold everything together. The first signs are subtle. A few more articles in the financial press, a quiet increase in demand for physical bullion at the local coin shop. The price begins to climb, not in a spike, but in a steady, determined ascent. This is the setup, the calm before the storm. This is when the savvy few, the students of history, begin to take note. They feel the shift in the wind. They remember the stories of those who didn't. Then the breakout happens. The price shatters through a psychological barrier, and the narrative in the media flips. It's no longer a steady climb. It's a craze, a frenzy. Headlines scream of new all-time highs. Television pundits, their voices tight with excitement, debate how high it can truly go. The digital ticker tape of the gold price becomes a form of mass hypnosis. And this is where the confrontation begins. Not just in the markets, but within the human heart. This is the siren's call, and it is almost impossible to resist. You see your neighbor, who bought gold coins on a whim years ago, suddenly sitting on a small fortune. You read about a billionaire hedge fund manager moving his entire portfolio into the metal. A voice in your head, sharp with panic and greed, starts whispering, "You're being left behind. This is the one true thing. Sell everything. Buy gold, now!
The emotion is visceral. It feels like a train is leaving the station and you are still on the platform. This is the moment of maximum danger. This is when people make the mistakes that haunt them for a lifetime. They liquidate their diversified life savings to pour into gold at its absolute peak, driven by the terror of missing out. They mortgage their logic on the altar of emotion. They see the rocket ship, and in their desperation to get on board, they forget to ask a simple, terrifying question. What goes up must eventually, inevitably, come down. The market becomes a theater of collective madness. The price detaches from any rational anchor and becomes a pure measure of human fear and avarice. It is a bubble, glowing with a golden hue. And in the center of this storm, with the noise deafening and emotions running high, it seems impossible to know what to do. The conflicting advice is overwhelming. Buy more. Sell now. The end is near. The new era is here. It is in this precise moment, in the eye of this hurricane of hysteria, that the number one rule must be applied. It is not a rule of action, but of inaction. It is not a shout, but a whisper of immense discipline. The rule is this: do not chase the price. The single most important thing you can do when gold prices go crazy is to refuse to be a part of the frenzy. The greatest power you have is the power to stand still. This is the resolution. This is the wisdom that has protected wealth for centuries. The rule is not about gold itself. It is about you. It is about mastering the animal spirit within that screams for immediate action. The investors who are truly destroyed are not those who miss an opportunity. They are those who stampede into a market at its most euphoric and fragile point. They are the ones who buy the dream at its most expensive, just as the dream is about to end. So what do? You remember that gold is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It is a form of financial insurance, a hedge against uncertainty, a component of a balanced and thoughtful portfolio. You should have owned it before the mania began, and if you didn't, the worst possible time to buy it is in the white-hot center of the mania itself. The disciplined investor, the one who understands this rule, does not react to the headlines. They may even use the irrational exuberance of others as an opportunity. If they already hold gold, this spectacular price rise might be a signal to cautiously, methodically take some profits, to sell a portion of their holding into the strength, locking in gains and rebalancing their portfolio. They are the calm ones, selling to the panicked buyers. They are not swept up in the story. They are observers of the human drama unfolding around them. The storm always passes. The fever always breaks. The price of gold after its spectacular, breathless ascent will eventually find a new equilibrium. It will correct. It will fall. And when it does, the narrative will change again. The headlines will turn sour. The same pundits who championed it will now call it a failed relic. The crowd, now nursing painful losses, will flee the metal in disgust, vowing never to return. And it is in this quiet, in this period of disillusionment, that the patient, disciplined investor who remembered the rule quietly begins to accumulate again. They buy not out of fear or greed, but out of a cold, calculated strategy. They are building their insurance policy when the premiums are low, not when the city is already on fire.
This is the eternal cycle. It is not a cycle of gold, but a cycle of human nature. Greed and fear, euphoria and despair. The metal is merely the stage upon which this ancient play is performed over and over again. The real wealth, therefore, is not found in the metal itself, but in the wisdom to understand your own psychology in its reflected glow. The ultimate prize is not a vault full of gold, but a mind at peace, untouched by the madness of the crowd. So when you see that number going crazy, when you feel that primal pull in your chest, Remember the one rule. Take a breath. Do not chase. Your greatest asset in that moment is not your capital, but your clarity. For in the end, true wealth is not measured in the weight of your metal, but in the strength of your character.